In this example, we're going to talk about iron levels. Now, hemoglobin levels will follow a normal distribution. In this example, we're going to use the mean as 13 GDLs and the standard deviation as 1.3 GDLs. The normal range is within 2 standard deviations of the mean. So, the first part of this question says, what is considered low iron? And we're also going to use the empirical rule to answer this question. So here is our normal curve. We said the mean is 13, so that's going to go in the center. Now, if each standard deviation represents 1.3 GDLs, then when we go out 1 standard deviation to the right, I'm going to add 1.3 to 13, and that will give me 14.3. If I go out another standard deviation, I add another 1.3, which will give me 15.6. And if I go out 1 more standard deviation, I add another 1.3, and that's going to give me 16.9. So the center means we're 0 standard deviations away from the mean. If I go 1 standard deviation to the right, that's where 14.3 is. If I go another standard deviation out, that represents the 15.6, and this will be 16.9. That will be 3 standard deviations out. Now, when I go to the left, I have to subtract because I'm going lower than 13. So I'm just going to keep subtracting 1.3. So I have 11.7. That will indicate that I'm going 1 standard deviation to the left. And I'm going to show that it's to the left by using a negative. Then 10.4 will be 2 standard deviations to the left. And 9.1 will be 3 standard deviations to the left. So when I go this way, I'm adding 1.3 for each of those tick marks. And when I go this way, because I'm subtracting, I take away 1.3. Now, if we're within normal range, that means here's the center. That means we're going to be within 2 standard deviations. So this is considered normal, anywhere in here. And if you recall, the empirical rule says if you're within 2 standard deviations of the mean, that is approximately 95% of the data that falls between those 2 values. So now, to answer this question in part A, it says what is considered low iron? Since normal is in the center between the 2 standard deviations out, then you would be considered low if you're over here in the shaded purple area when you're less than 10.4. And then you're considered high when you're above 15.6. Those are your extreme cases. So, what is considered low iron in this case would if you fall below 10.4 GDLs. That's this value here. That's our cutoff point for low hemoglobin levels. The next part says, if a sample of 600 were taken, approximately how many women would have low iron? Well, we know that from here to here in the normal range is 95% of the values. So that means the high and the low together in total have to represent 5%. Because everything under the graph is 100%. So half of that is low, half of that is high. So this represents 2.5% of the data, and the high values represent 2.5% of the data, and that way we have a total of 100% under that curve. So if I know we took a sample of 600 people, and 2.5 of them, 2.5% I should say, is low, then to find the answer to part B, I'm going to take 2.5% of 600 women. So I'm going to take 0.025 times 600, and that's going to give me 15 women.